Airports are usually places of silent chaos, announcements echoing overhead, rolling suitcases buzzing along the tiled floors, families saying rushed goodbyes or excited hellos. But on one particularly sunny Thursday morning, everything changed at Gate C7 of the International Terminal. What began as a routine day turned into an unforgettable event that left hundreds of passengers frozen in disbelief and tears. The scene? A highly trained German Shepherd K9 leaping out of line, attacking a man's briefcase with alarming precision. The reaction? Panic. Confusion. Fear. And then, something else. Something no one expected. The black briefcase tore open under the dog's powerful grip. Passengers gasped. A man screamed and stumbled back. Security surged forward, but before they reached the scene, out fell a tiny, dust-covered baby shoe. Time stopped. People blinked. Some stepped closer, confused, thinking maybe they'd misread the moment. But then, out tumbled a second item, a faded photograph, torn at the edges, showing a smiling man holding a toddler, with a blurred woman in the background. And finally, something wrapped in white cloth with an ash-stained edge, the kind of wrapping used to hold something sacred, or something lost. If stories like this matter to you, if you believe in healing, second chances, or the unspoken love between humans and animals, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. Your support allows us to keep telling these powerful, real-life stories that change the way we see animals and ourselves. The man behind the briefcase was Omar Malik. In his mid-40s, sharply dressed, with eyes that rarely showed emotion, Omar was a known figure in the corporate world, an executive who built himself up from the bottom. Originally from Karachi, he came from nothing. He was the oldest of 5 siblings and had spent his childhood selling toys at railway stations to support his ailing mother. He worked his way through college and eventually made it to New York City, where he built his company from scratch. Success followed, but it came at a cost. The cost? His heart. Omar had become a man of routine, measured, punctual, predictable. He didn't believe in opening up, not even to the people closest to him. Not since that day, the day when fire consumed his home, his past, and worst of all, his only son. The tragedy had made headlines. A faulty heater, a fast-moving blaze, and a helpless toddler asleep in the nursery. Omar had been away at work. His wife tried to save the child but collapsed from smoke inhalation. She survived. The boy did not. Since then, Omar carried the remnants of his old life inside that briefcase. A single baby shoe. A half-burned photograph. A clipping from the newspaper, which he read every day as if punishing himself. And in a velvet pouch, a small urn containing part of his son's ashes. Not even his wife knew he still carried it. They had divorced 2 years after the incident, unable to bear the weight of shared grief. Omar didn't speak of it. Not even in therapy. Instead, he poured himself into work, wore expensive suits, smiled at board meetings, and mastered the art of hiding pain behind professionalism. But animals don't need words. They don't ask questions. They feel. Azad, the canine dog, was unlike any other. He was a retired service dog, previously deployed in bomb detection units. He had served in dangerous areas, survived explosions, and once shielded his handler during an attack. After suffering a serious leg injury, Azad was retired and placed in a rehabilitation center for dogs who had served but had nowhere else to go. It was during his recovery that he bonded with a young boy at the shelter, a child who had himself survived loss and was healing from the trauma of domestic violence. The boy and Azad healed each other in quiet ways. It was believed Azad had an uncanny sense and ability to detect not just threats, but emotional wounds. Some said he could sense sadness as keenly as the scent of C4. After rehabilitation, Azad was temporarily called back to assist at the airport's K9 unit due to staff shortage. He had only been on duty a week when he encountered Omar Malik. The moment Omar walked past him at the terminal, Azad's entire posture shifted. Ears perked. Tail stiffened. A low growl. Then a bark, sharp, almost distressed. His handler tugged the leash, confused. But Azad resisted. He lunged. Straight for Omar's briefcase. The force of the attack startled the crowd. The handler yelled. Security moved in. But by the time anyone reached them, the contents had spilled. The baby shoe, the photo, the ashes. The story laid bare. And Omar, he broke. Not violently, but silently. He sank to his knees, eyes fixed on the shoe, his hand trembling as he reached for it. His shoulders shook. He pressed the cloth wrapper into his chest and whispered a name that only he remembered saying aloud once at a funeral he couldn't even attend fully. Passengers around him went quiet. No one moved. People started crying. Some clutched their children. A woman knelt and gently placed her hand on Omar's back. Another whispered to a security guard, "Don't stop him. He's not dangerous. He's grieving." Later, as he sat in the airport's medical room, Omar shared his story for the first time. Azad sat quietly beside him, head resting on Omar's lap. The man who had never let himself be vulnerable now cried openly in front of airport staff and strangers. He admitted he carried his son's ashes with him on every flight, hoping that movement would bring him closer to peace, though he never knew where he was actually going. A local journalist who witnessed the event shared the story online. Within hours, the post went viral. Not for the drama, but for the raw human pain, and the dog that saw what no one else could. In the weeks that followed, something changed in Omar. He cancelled his corporate contracts. He began visiting the K9 center regularly, volunteering to help care for service dogs who were retired, wounded, or waiting to be rehomed. There, he met other veterans, both human and canine, who carried stories of silent battles. And for the first time in years, Omar found a space where pain wasn't shameful. It was honored. He later launched a non-profit called The Shoe Left Behind, a program that offers emotional support to parents who have lost children, and therapeutic animal interactions for grieving families. He worked side by side with Azad, who became the face of the foundation. Together, they visited burn wards, bereavement support groups, and even schools affected by tragedy. Omar never tried to fix anyone. He just showed up, with a dog who once tore open his past and, in doing so, gave him a future. People sometimes ask what really happened at that airport. Why did a dog react so intensely to a man who wasn't carrying anything dangerous? The answer isn't written in a report. It's not scientific. But it's very real. Azad didn't smell threat. He smelled buried sorrow. And he knew perhaps better than any human that grief ignored becomes poison. That what's hidden must someday be released. And he acted not out of aggression, but instinct, the instinct to heal. If this story moved your heart even a little, we invite you to help us keep these stories alive. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. Every click, every comment, every share helps us spotlight stories that deserve to be remembered. Special comment prompt: have you ever experienced a moment where an animal sensed your emotions when no one else did? Tell us your story in the comments. We'd love to hear how an animal helped you through something no one else understood. Because sometimes, it only takes one moment, one bark, one bond, to change everything.